And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we are back up in this building. We're ready. Oh, I got a good one for you. And I also have a fast one for you because I don't know why, but the airline has decided that they want to put their foot on the gas, and they are moving quickly to bring my firstborn back home from college. So she actually, her flight's going to be, it looks like it's going to be pretty early compared to when it was supposed to be landing. Now it's going to be pretty early. So I'm going to get out here so I can go pick up President Firstborn. Looking forward to seeing her. Grace and peace, everybody. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title. So let's get at it. Let's talk about it. I got a fun one for you, but I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping real quick while people jump into the best, most electrifying live chat on the internet. Very quickly, if you are a member of this channel, I was asked or reached out to by StreamYard, the company that offers the streaming service that I actually stream this live stream through, to provide a pilot for hosting a podcast for them, where basically I'm doing an interview with content creators who are using StreamYard to talk about their platforms, how they're growing their channel, how they're engaging with their audience, and hopefully all of that is being made better by StreamYard. Well, I shot my pilot this week with another great content creator, and I am going to drop it in the members only chat. I'm not the members only chat, but the members only on my channel. So you'll see it probably populating in the next couple moments. And I would love for you all as members of the channel to check it out. It's like 14 minutes long. I'd love to get some feedback from you all. Let me know what you think about it. If it's some harsh criticism, then email management. If it's great criticism, you think it's fantastic, then please, please, please comment down below for sure. And this will hopefully if what they're wanting to do, they're going to probably be doing one a week. So these will be popping up on a regular basis, and they'll be available on my channel as just regular content. But I'll probably set it aside as maybe in a playlist or something of that nature, a podcast style, whatever, so it doesn't get muddled up. But I do want y'all to check it out. I would love to hear what you all think about this. And it's been a blessing that they want to actually work with you guys. So I'm glad that, first of all, that they want to work with your guy, and that I have the opportunity to do this because I really enjoy StreamYard, and I absolutely love reaching out to other content creators and hearing their stories and all that kind of good jazz. So I appreciate y'all for that. Tonight, I want to go over the Frank Turek video that he did. A lot of people were suggesting it, and my goodness, in the morning, it's an excellent video. So I want to go over that. But before we do that, I want to just point out just how messy the Candace crowd can be. The Candaspiracy people, the Candies, y'all come up here to the front of the church because y'all are messy. Y'all are some messy, messy humans. I mean, good gracious alive. I'm a little bit embarrassed for y'all. So earlier today, I dropped a video from What Do You Meme podcast, where the gentleman is talking about Candaspiracy and all this kind of stuff like that, and basically the mistruths and lies that she's been telling. And it's a clip out from the live stream that I did earlier this week. I thought I did a pretty good job of saying that it's coming from What Do You Meme, and being that it's down in the description of the video, I thought that was pretty straightforward. I thought that was pretty clear. Hopefully you all saw that and you all were like, yeah, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So I found it odd that I happened to be on my channel, somebody made a post saying that I did not give attribution to What Do You Meme as if I'd stolen What Do You Meme's content. And I was like, what the devil are you talking about? What do you mean? So what do you mean, right? I thought that was the dumbest thing. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? So I jump over to What Do You Meme's channel. What do you got real quick? Just make sure I'm jumping in and saying what's up to the most electrifying. I'm going to say what's up to my good people in a moment. Real quick, I'm going to bring this in. And here's the person right here. And this is on What Do You Meme's channel. He says this: there's a guy named Jay Witt who used your video and did not credit you. Call him out. All right. I thought that was interesting. And so somebody comment back, he did give him credit, is how I heard about the channel and decided to watch this video. Somebody else said Jay Witt actually gave this channel a super thanks the day he used the commented video, Goofy. And I was like, man, these people, shout out to the best live chat on the internet. So the day that I dropped that video is right here at the beginning. And I'm on What Do You Meme's channel. And I'm going to go to top comments. And his comment is right here. This is John's comment talking about Ground News. Shout out to Ground News. Very useful resource. First thing under there is me. It's me 2 days ago. And listen what I said. I gave him a $5 super thanks because it was a really helpful video. I think my audience really, it added value. I said, there's no reason not to tell this guy thank you in a tangible kind of way. I said, thank you for this meme mafia. Very well done and helpful. This really will bring most of us up to date. I'd like to highlight this tonight on my show. And look at John gave it a heart. So that means he saw it. So for this guy to come over here and say, well, Jason didn't give you attribution. Like, what are you talking about? I say it several times in the video. Shout out to What Do You Mean? It's down in the description. Where's this person again? There he is. Shout out to the goofball. I'm like, I shouted out, what do you mean? It's already in the... Oh, okay. It's already in the description, and I pinned it to the top of the comments today. What are you talking about? But see, this is what I'm talking about. Candies, they gotta be messy. They gotta be messy. They want mess. They don't want unity. They don't want cohesion. They don't want willing to listen. And I mean, literally the video I say, this is John from What Do You Mean? Great content creator, XYZ ABC. But this person's over here saying, I didn't give him credit and attribution. Just to cause stir and to call him out. Call him out. Call him out that I dropped him a super and said, thanks for the video. I just was taken aback. I said, man, these people just want to be messy because air is free. That's it. Because air is free, they want to be messy. That's just it. They can't do anything else with themselves to be happy. They can't find happiness in their lives. But I know what I can find happiness about. Shout out to Jay. That's right. The clip of Candace on the Joe Rogan pod was pretty short, but very interesting. Talks about Charlie as well. Really. Okay, drop me in. If you can shoot me an email with it, it would be great. Simply because I got to make sure. Joe Rogan, sometimes I heard some people get copyright dings with Joe Rogan. And sadly, some of these resources, like Candaspiracy the other day, play like a little snippet from some movie, some show she was talking about. It literally was 11 seconds long. She played 11 seconds of it, and it got my entire video taken off. Like literally, the whole video is like 3 hours long, and it's 11 seconds of her playing this little snippet of some song or some show. So anyway, if you don't mind shooting me an email, I will absolutely. I do pray before we get started, came my way, and I'll explain why if I need to, but I can explain why I don't generally do it on screen, but I do. Thank you so much, though. I appreciate you being a member for sure. Let's keep it going. Craig says this, after she read that quarantine yesterday, I don't want to hear her voice again. And she has the nerve to call herself a Christian. You know what? Oh, you talking about the Quran. Okay, I got you. That's what that is. I don't think we're going to listen to her today. We're going to listen to Frank Turek and John from What Do You Mean? Shout out. Okay, I see y'all dropping your like numbers in there. I appreciate it. I see y'all. Thank you so much. What? Your first live is never as good as the first time. There we go. I would sing Sade, but y'all don't want me to do that. Well, I'm glad you like it. Little Mimi, I do appreciate it for sure. What's going on, honey bun? What's happening, good people? I see some good folk jumping in to the most electrifying live chat on the planet. Always good to see some family reunion happening in the chat. Always good. Let me see real quick. I'm going to get this video queued up. Ready to go. You all made some good suggestions. Look. I don't want y'all, because several people have emailed me some excellent videos. there are a lot of videos that are very, very extremely similar. And though I want to go over everybody's content and talk about it. I want to talk about it. I don't want to sit and I don't want to go over two videos. Like, for example, I was shared a video in email that, in my opinion, is extremely similar to John's from What Do You Mean? They're not copied, but the information is very similar. And so I don't want to just burn them down like that and just be like, hey, we're just watching very similar videos. So I try to pace them out. So some of the videos that I think are like high overview videos, especially if she's going to be gone for 10 days, I'm going to try to drop those during the time that she's off. So then that way it won't seem like we're just jam packing all of this stuff into the same day. Because I don't want to have like a What Do You Mean video and him explaining it, and then another content creator and them explaining it, and they're really just explaining very similar things. I hope that makes sense. For the most part, Lulu, everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome here. Candies are welcome. We make room for candies at the front of the church, though. They get to come all the way up here to the front, and everybody's welcome. As long as they behave correctly, everybody's welcome. The moderators let everybody roam free around the best live chat on the internet, as long as you behave. You just got to behave. That's all. We don't treat people like children. Y'all come over here, just behave, and you can stay around and hang out. I don't think we've even kicked many people out, as far as I know. I try my best. I really do try my best. Now, I admit, let me be honest. Let me tell you the truth. There's sometimes I forget to put the link down in the description. If y'all send me a brand new video while I'm hot on the mic, I might say, oh yeah, I put the link down in the description. Once I end this video, I'm in the kitchen looking at my wife. Okay, I'm in the living room playing with my kid. So I might forget, but I try my best if I'm on here at least to say, hey, what you're not going to see from me is me just heist the lead attorney's video and pop it up here and say it's mine. Because first of all, the lead attorney looks better than me. So y'all wouldn't be confused. So I try my best, though. I really do. They were rampant yesterday. Were they? Well, okay. All right. Well, I will. Well, the moderators are welcome if they're misbehaving. Now, let me just say this, Rena, and I didn't see it because the live chat was going bananas over here. On my side, what I see is just a wall of text. It looks like the Matrix sometimes. Hey, if the moderators, if y'all see the people misbehaving, y'all go ahead and put them in the timeouts. Y'all time them out. I'm perfectly fine with that. If you have a wrench next to your name, I trust you to be able to moderate and you know what you're looking for. I just ask that you don't remove anybody permanently from the channel. That's the only thing I ask. So if, example, just using it as an example, if Rena is misbehaving, then they go ahead and put Rena in a little, 300-second timeout or something like that. Give her a little bit of time to cool off and get her life together. I try to get bots. I try to keep them out from the front. Bots and stuff like that. That's why it's subscribers only. And if I need to, then I'll make it, you have to be subscribed for a year before you can come into live chat, or I'll make it members only if I have to. So on my side, if you see that problem, if it's wild, y'all let me, and I miss it and the moderators miss it for whatever reason, then go ahead and email me, email management. Yeah, I can't steal a meme from What Do You Mean? I mean, that would just be nasty work, man. Look, don't do that to your boy. Your boy ain't that bad, man. I can't be stealing from What Do You Mean? I like him a lot. Good content creator for sure. All right, let me keep this going real quick, and we're gonna watch this video by Frank Turek, and then I'm gonna scoop my little self on down there to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport to pick up the most electrifying firstborn. They just want to stir that pot, Endell. They just want it. And it's messy. Like, you're wild, man. I'm like, why would you even say that? Like, for real? I mean, as if I had heisted his video, which is crazy. And then like 3 posts above, you see that John actually gave me thanks because I gave him a super thanks for it. Oh, this is funny. Wow, Rachel. We actually have not a wager. There's several of us who believe this comment, that's where she's going next. A lot of us believe that. More people believe it than you'd be pleasantly surprised how many people believe that Candace Spiracy's next move is to become a Muslim. It's how she gets there. That's the thing. A lot of us are like debating about how she gets there, but a lot of us do believe that she'll become a Muslim. All right. So y'all, thank y'all so much. There's a lot of good comments in here. Oh yeah. If you want to email management, dearwokec@gmail.com. Tina, not even a little problem. Tina, good to see you. Thank you so much. There's some good folk in here. I love it. Thank y'all so much. Please jump into the best live chat on the internet. Let me know what you think. We're going to watch Frank Turek and discussing some of the conspiracies and answering some of the questions that have come up. And, you know, it's kind of sad because I do believe that Frank Turek was Charlie Kirk's friend. I mean, I do believe that. And then to have people conspiring and making up these stories that you fixing your baseball cap or moving your hand is giving a signal to somebody to delete your friend. Man, that's nasty work, man. That is some grade A, homegrown, grass-fed foolishness, man, y'all. And I'm just sad that it didn't have to be that way. Like, man, that this man had to even address that is pretty nasty work. And think about how much of our time has been brought up addressing Candaspiracy. I admit I enjoyed dogging her out. I admit it's a guilty pleasure. But imagine if Candace wasn't doing this. We would all be doing something different. But how much she has inserted herself into this scenario and into this drama. And you almost think like she's the one that got deleted almost, right? So it's sad. And she's created, I watched David Woods and Apostate Prophet. Goodness gracious, man, that video was good. It's long. No, that was like 2.5 hours without any commentary. But so we're going to maybe chop that down into some more salient bits. But my point is, how many people are calling out Candace is mind boggling. Jump on the Twitter and just scroll for a few minutes. It is crazy work. And the fact that I do think that she's taking a break, that 10-day break, because I do think that something happened in that Macron case. By the way, the Macron case, the judge is going to decide on the jurisdiction, the move of jurisdiction, and they have to reply. Candace has to respond to the extended, or rather amended complaint by October 30th. So 2 Thursdays from now. Yeah, the day before Halloween. Anyway, make sense? Let's keep going. Let's bring Frank in here. Let's go. Green hearts in the chat when you can hear.
Look, in the end, all of these theories always emerge early, long before the trial begins. Why? Because it turns out the investigators are holding on to a ton of evidence that they have not shared publicly. And while they're holding on to this, something as simple as the autopsy report, they're holding on to this for a reason, right? They want to make sure they've investigated every potential accusation, every potential theory that's out there, and they don't want to release information to the public that later on might jeopardize the investigation. Here's what I mean. Often we'll be interviewing somebody and they'll tell us something that either they have to know from firsthand knowledge, which would implicate them in some way, or they might have heard it online. Well, we don't want them to hear it online. So when they do mention this little weird detail to us, we'll go, whoa, that's not been publicized anywhere.
And that makes sense, man. It's reasonable.
30 hours after Charlie was murdered, I arrived back in Phoenix, and my wife picked us up at the airport. And she said there was some kind of crazy conspiracy theory out there that a guy in a white hat was signaling the shooter. Well, the guy in the white hat was me. And that conspiracy theory still lives on in some people's minds, but there are other conspiracy theories going on. Was there a second shooter? Or is the shooter, the Tyler Robinson suspect, maybe he's a patsy. Maybe he didn't pull the trigger at all. Maybe somebody closer shot Charlie. Maybe, who knows? There's all sorts of different conspiracies out there. What was the trajectory of the shot? Where did it come from? We're going to investigate all that today, and there's nobody better to investigate that than a cold case homicide detective, my friend J. Warner Wallace. You know, he's been on this program several times before, coldcasechristianity.com. He solved many cold case murders himself. He's been at many homicide scenes. He knows how investigations are done, when information is released, when it's not released. He knows a lot about this kind of investigation. So Jim has researched some of these conspiracy theories. In fact, I asked him to do it because I just can't watch the video, and Jim has. So, Jim, thanks for doing all that. Why don't we start with the main conspiracy theory out there about the shooters, and let's just take it from there. Was there a second shooter? What is?
Okay, I'm going to take a quick stop real quick. I dropped the link to his channel, John's channel. It's I just pulled it up. It looks like a really cool site, especially if you're a cold case kind of person. It looks like it might be something that you want to check out. Cold case files and murder meetings with Jim Warner Wallace. All right. I just want to put that out there. Make sure you all knew is linked in the chat, and I will try to put it in the description by the time this video is over with. Let's go.
The evidence show?
Well, this is I know for you personally, this is a tough thing to talk about. And so I did watch all the videos. I'm about a day behind. So there's probably some videos that came out yesterday when I was flying that I wasn't able to watch, but I think I pretty much got the idea of.
Also, do you realize that Frank Turek probably has a video? Because he's holding his phone recording Charlie. He probably has a video that is probably the closest thing that we've seen or that's out there. Oh, I'd probably burn my phone. I just burned my whole cell phone. I wouldn't want, oh my gosh.
What is being said and the number of different kinds of claims that are being made. I think we should start, though, honestly, this is how we start with all investigations. You start with what is the affirmative evidence, right? Because we can always speculate about what evidence we might someday get or we don't quite have yet. But we tell jurors all the time, you're not allowed to speculate in jury deliberation about what might be. But you have to speculate. You can't even speculate at all. It's actually a term we use in criminal trials. Instead, you have to base your inferences simply on the evidence you have before you, not what you think could be out there. So this is the standard jury instruction. We should also embrace it when we're looking at this, even on a cultural way, like on YouTube channels, okay? What we have so far is strong evidence that this Tyler Robinson is the one who's involved, based on not only, the video we have of his escape route, his own statements to people before and after the shooting. We have no evidence right now of a secondary shooter, but I can understand. We're going to talk about why these people are making these claims. But I think what we have right now, I'm looking at my notes, is you've got great DNA evidence that traces his path. We're eventually going to have ballistic, and we'll talk about all that. So right now, the evidence they have points to one suspect. Now, I think what has added to this conspiratorial kind of ethos we're in is that the FBI has made several posts saying, hey, we're going to investigate the possibility of a second shooter. Not because they think there's a second shooter. They're hearing the same noise that all of us are hearing. And they're going to have to knock down each one of these theories before they go to trial. Just let me say one thing, Frank. When we get done investigating a case and we have a suspect in custody that we believe is our guy, and it's sufficiently supported by the evidence that a district attorney will even file the case, and trust me, DAs don't want to file cases they are going to lose. So that the level has to be pretty high before they'll even file the case. Well, once we've done that, now we're thinking clearly about the trial and protecting the trial. So a lot of what we're going to do, those decisions we're going to make are going to be about protecting the trial. Now, what I'm seeing online are a couple of things. A number of kind of simpler ones are the ones where people are looking at the crowd and they're looking at the background, who's standing behind Charlie, who's in the crowd off to the side of Charlie, and they are playing the video back frame by frame by frame from the point of the shot. And they're looking for little movements, little things that seem out of the ordinary. Now, this is just not a good way to do investigations, because you can find someone's going to scratch their ear at the time of the shooting, and suddenly it becomes something they think means something. And I've seen a number of these from both sides in the crowd, people in the crowd, where people are speculating, well, did that person in the crowd actually do the shooting? Did he have a palm gun? Did he have a gun that was shot from a cell phone? Because they're just seeing, this is why this is silly, to just click back frame by frame and look for any twitch Because if you were to actually do this at any point before the shooting or after the sound of the shot, you will find all kinds of twitchy movements. This is just the nature of humans that exist and get filmed on video. I think this is a poor way to start a conspiracy theory, but you do see it a lot. And I've seen at least 3 or 4 videos now where someone's claiming that little movement from that guy is not necessarily you, it's somebody else in the crowd. And so, of course, this is the kind of stuff that we're going to have to eventually knock down. And of course, the bigger ones, Frank, are the ones that deal with this secondary shooter, not just like there's 2 shooters involved and maybe the round came from an entirely different angle.
Right.
And I just want you to think about this. And this gentleman, shout out to him in the light blue. He's saying that these are all things that we're going to have to knock down before the trial. So just imagine how many false scenarios that have been inserted into the story. The underground communist beehive group. Somebody's going to have to go find that. Somebody's going to have to resources are probably going to get put into trying to find that. Or was it Caldera, the company that owns the valves? Or all of these other little weird stories that have come up from the conspiracies, from Candaspiracy, are going to get brought up. Why did they pave over the area where Charlie Kirk was shot? That's going to have to get dealt with. And resources are going to get taken from there to have to answer that question. Or resources are going to be taken from here to go over there to answer that question. And think about that, man, how cruel that is to drag this out longer because they're not able to finish the investigation because somebody believes that on the death certificate, they should have the type of gun and the bullet listed on the death certificate. Or there was no autopsy. All these crazy things. Now, digging through the head surgeon at the hospital. All of that crazy stuff is going to get brought up and they're going to have to be able to answer that. And those resources are going to be taken from that, which is just crazy work. Okay, let's go.
Right. Yeah. The crazy thing about I'm the signaling the shooter. First of all, if somebody wants to kill Charlie Kirk, they know who Charlie Kirk is. They don't need somebody on the stage to say, hey, that's Charlie Kirk over there. Secondly, if he's looking through a scope from 100 or 200 yards away, he can't see me when I'm 25 feet to Charlie's right. And there's no motive anyway to actually signal anyone. It's crazy how this stuff arises. I'm still seeing people in my YouTube feed saying, oh yeah, you were making signals. And let me tell you, you just said something that turned out to be true. You didn't know this was the case already, but as soon as we got to the hospital and handed Charlie off, the FBI was there and started interviewing each of us individually. Then a few days later, I get a phone call from the FBI wanting to ask me about the signal gate thing.
Right.
And so
what? And here's the question, Frank. They're not calling you. Trust me, I've done this myself.
Right.
They are not calling you because they think, oh, maybe Frank's involved. No, they're calling you because they know a trial is coming.
Right.
And in the trial, every one of these issues is going to.
Okay, I'm going to back this up. This is so good. Again, if you are Candy, shout out being a part of the best live chat on the internet. Come on up here close to the front of the church. We made room for you at the front of the church. Y'all need to hear this. If you are concerned about truth, if you're concerned about justice for Charlie and this, that, and the third, listen to what these conspiracies are doing to the proper investigation of Charlie. And this gentleman in the light blue, if you jumped in late, he is a retired investigator who is specialized in cold cases that have gone longer than 48 hours or longer than a year or whatever of that nature. Let me back this up just so you can hear again. This is excellent. Shout out to whoever told me to watch this. If you were one of the ones that told me to watch this, you get a gold star. Let's go.
Right.
And so
what? And here's the question, Frank. They're not calling you. Trust me, I've done this myself.
Right.
They are not calling you because they think, oh, maybe Frank's involved. No, they're calling you because they know a trial is coming.
Right.
And in the trial, every one of these issues is going to be a distraction to the jury. So what they do is they thoroughly investigate each one of these distractions, not because they think it's credible, but because they know that a defense attorney may someday try to make it sound credible. So you can't take the fact you were interviewed as any consensus amongst the investigators. They think this is true. That's never the case. Now, I think you mentioned something here. Like the motive seems to be a lot of this. Like, why do people create these kinds of conspiracy theories? Well, sometimes it's because they want to attribute ill will to some side of the political spectrum. It's not really that side, it's the other side. Sometimes it's because they simply want to have, like, we are in a look at me, look at me, look at me social media world. And the way you get those kinds of clicks, and I can tell you, I went through all these videos, those are the most popular videos on those channels because they're mentioning Charlie Kirk's death. And this is one of the reasons why I think a lot of us have kind of resisted the temptation to leverage something this terrible just for social media clicks. But these folks don't care about that. These folks are actually, it's a motivation now to suggest a theory. Now, let me just say something about the way this is being done, because we have enough time in this first segment to talk about this. Look, in the end, all of these theories always emerge early, long before the trial begins. Why? Because it turns out the investigators are holding on to a ton of evidence that they have not shared publicly. And while they're holding on to this, something as simple as the autopsy report, they're holding on to this for a reason, right? They want to make sure they've investigated every potential accusation, every potential theory that's out there, and they don't want to release information to the public that later on might jeopardize the investigation. Here's what I mean. Often we'll be interviewing somebody and they'll tell us something that either they have to know from firsthand knowledge, which would implicate them in some way, or they might have heard it online. Well, we don't want them to hear it online. So when they do mention this little weird detail to us, we'll go, whoa, that's not been publicized anywhere. This is why often it's not as though agencies lie. And that's one, by the way, that's one of the biggest first assumptions on all these channels. You can't trust anything that the law enforcement agency is telling you. Well, I can tell you this, we don't lie. And here's why we don't lie, because it turns out our credibility is going to come into question on the stand during the trial. Here's what we do though. We don't tell you everything. That's a big difference.
You release information incrementally when it makes sense to do so. So that's a great point, Jim. If they were to release information, then other witnesses might be tainted by that information when they're interviewed, so they can't release it all now. There's much more with the great J. Warner Wallace coming up, Cold Case Homicide Detective. He's going to analyze these conspiracy theories, so don't go anywhere. We're back right after the break. You're listening to I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist.
And they're back. They're back up in the
Can
building.
you trust what the FBI has said about the Charlie Kirk murder? How much information does the FBI release? When do they release it? What is the proper way to release information? Might they be withholding information for a reason? Well, my friend J. Warner Wallace, Cold Case Homicide Detective, will say yes, and he's going to unpack it further. Jim, why not just hold a press conference and tell us everything we know?
Well, you know, it's why there is a certain distrust, I'll just be honest, between investigators and law enforcement often and the press. And the reason why is not because we think the press are just innately bad. It's because they have a different set of priorities, a different set of goals. They want, of course, to capture the biggest story possible because they want readership. Totally understand that. I get it. Our job, though, once we have somebody in sights and we're making this case and we have enough evidence to actually file a case with the district attorney, is to, like I said before, protect the trial. The trial is coming. You might have the right guy, but if you can't convict him, shame on us. So there's always kind of this sense that if I release this little piece to the press, well, then they chase it and they chase it. Then they make a statement that's not quite true. And then they talk to other people who make additional statements. And now I have a fire. I'm the reason why I have this fire. If I hadn't released that little piece, there'd be no fire. In the end, it's always safer to say less than to say more. Here's who we have in custody. And by the way, all of this will be part of the criminal trial. It's not as though you're not going to know what happened. You're just not going to know what happened today.
I just want to stop again. I'm thinking as he's saying this, which by the way, makes perfect sense. Shout out to this young man right here. It makes perfect sense. I don't want to leave him freeze frame like that. Imagine the amount of what if speculations just from people that Conspiracy has thrown into the mix. I think the other night we counted at least 8. There's probably more. I'm sure if we really put our minds to it, there's probably more. And each one of those people now could be potentially considered a witness, a co-conspirator, an assistant, whatever, for no reason. Because she just threw him out there because the woman was talking to the news and she works at the police department. just nasty work. So all of this right here, and I do understand, and I guess for whatever reason, I'm perfectly fine that I don't know everything right now today. I mean, Charlie Kirk has been deceased for now exactly 1 month. I'm perfectly fine that I don't know everything. I don't live to know everything, truth be told. I don't need to know everything about this right now. That's not my case. He wasn't my brother. He wasn't related to me. He's in the body of Christ, so he's my brother in Christ for sure. But I don't need to know everything. And I think that needs to be told to the candies. Like, you don't really need to know everything. It's okay. All right, let's go. Great video.
And we do that on purpose. Two things. One, like I said, if we're interviewing somebody we think might be involved, we want every piece of information to come to us, and we'll realize, yeah, he couldn't have known that. Only the killer or the killer's accomplice could know that, because we've never talked about that publicly. We never talked about the details of the injury. We didn't talk about that publicly. So if he knows, oh, this must mean something. So we want to protect our investigation of future suspects. But also, we eventually have a jury pool that we're going to have to assemble to do a trial. And the more the community and the public knows, especially the more famous the incident, the harder it is. And you've seen this in the last 5 years with all kinds of criminal trials where you had a jury that was really hard to select. And often, to be honest, I always tell people, right, where do you win your criminal trials? In jury selection. You don't win them in the opening statements. You don't win them in the closing arguments. You don't win them in rebuttal. You win them in jury selection. If you don't pick a jury that's impartial, you're done. So it's really going to be hard to protect that if there's a lot of information out there. Now, I think in the end, what I'm looking for is enough oversight. So I'll give you an example. Do we make mistakes in investigations? All the time. All the time. We're humans. But what I've always seen is that the less number of law enforcement eyes that are on the investigation, the more likely you are to make it a mistake. When you have more eyes on it, you get more people saying, well, why are you doing that? Hold on. What if we do this? And so when I have got multi-jurisdictional, a lot of eyes, state, local, federal eyes are on this, and all those supervisors. This is why, for example, I always wanted a sergeant who had previously been a homicide detective, because that guy knows what happens in homicide investigations, and he becomes a source of wisdom for me. So when I see this investigation and there are so many eyes on it, now, can that also mess things up, Frank? Yes. I have. If there's a sense of pride and I don't want to share information with you, agencies don't work well together. I have not seen that, though, yet on this investigation. So I just wanted, if you don't mind, I just want to talk about a couple of these alternative, kind of claims that are being made.
What we're going to do, friends, is we'll put a couple of these in the show notes, like videos. If you want to watch them, I can't watch them. I just don't want to see them. But Jim has watched them. And I know essentially what they're saying. But Jim, pick one and explain what the conspiracy is, and then we'll comment on it. Go ahead.
A guy named Range Day Bro did a YouTube video that was kind of referenced very frequently after he posted it by David Pakman, the PBD podcast, Heavy Duty Country, Hagshot 87, a ton of these folks. And I watched all of these. Now, some of them, you're right. If you're going to watch them, they are going to replay in slow motion, frame by frame, stuff that you probably don't want to see again. And I don't either. I didn't find really any of them to be all that compelling, to be honest with you, for a couple of things. Here's the claim. The claim is that Charlie was shot, instead of shot from the front on the left side, and that's where the injury appears on his neck, that he's actually shot from behind on the right, and the bullet enters his body in a way that it emerges. It's an exit wound we're seeing, basically, there's their claim, on the left side of his neck, rather than an entry wound. So they're arguing there's an entirely different shooter at a different angle. So in other words, I always describe it like a piece of pizza, where you have a slice of pizza and the point is where Charlie is sitting. Instead of the shot being fired down one edge of the pizza slice, they're claiming it's fired down the other edge. And so this is the idea. Now, what are they basing this on? A lot of it is based on this close-up evidence, they say, from the video. We've got a couple other videos now that have emerged. And I'm watching these as well. And I'm thinking, okay, for example, at the point of the entry wound, or the impact, let's put it that way, they see something on the right side of Charlie's head that they either claim is some evidence of the bullet itself, or is perhaps blood, or is perhaps, there's no way, Frank, to tell from the videos. Here's my problem with all that. The video is two-dimensional. It doesn't even show you any depth. I have no idea how far back from Charlie any of that small little movement. You can't even really tell if it's an artifact of the video. There's just not enough evidence for this. And here's my whole point with all of it. So that's the major claim I'm seeing on the secondary shooter, that the bullet comes in from the right side, and then it exits from the left side. And I think the point here is they're trying to say, hey, this guy they've got, Robinson's a patsy. He didn't even pull the trigger. In essence, they're saying the round came from an entirely different direction. On the basis of what evidence? Now, here's what I would say. In the end, you know what's going to determine where the bullet came from? The autopsy.
And, there are people saying, Jim, there was no autopsy.
Yeah, that's not true. As a matter of fact, this autopsy was a couple of things. First of all, let me just explain to people how the autopsy thing works. Every homicide or suspicious death, you'll have to have by state law, and this is true in Utah as well, an autopsy done. And the reason why we do the autopsy is that nothing is clear. What we're trying to do is document what seems to be obvious. No, that's the point of autopsies, to document what seems to be obvious. Here's what happens. And by the way, homicide investigators, I have to attend every autopsy of anyone who I'm assigned to as the case agent. If I'm going to get the case, I'm going to have to be present at the autopsy. In California, at least, we have a provision that allows the coroner not to go to the prelim. I'm going to have to go and testify at the prelim for the coroner. So I have to be there during the autopsy. Here's how this works. As gruesome as it may sound, what happens is we take the body and they bring it into a room, and the heart's not been beating for a while, so there's no more blood being pushed out. They wash the body, so it's completely clean. It's naked and clean. Then they put the body into an x-ray machine. They're looking, especially in a shooting, they're looking for the round. I can't tell you, you might think that rounds are simple. They're not. When they enter the body, they do all kinds of weird things. Some will fragment, and you'll have to trace their fragments. By the way, I will stay as the investigating officer until that coroner collects every fragment, every piece of metal, and gives it to me. It's evidential. It may be used in lab work later on, and we're going to remove every fragment from the body. So they're going to do the same thing with Charlie, and that's going to tell us a couple of things right away. Because one of the claims is that the round should have gone through him. It just should have gone through the kind of round that's a 30-06. It should have gone through him. Yet they're claiming that the round was in him. By the way, Frank, not unusual. What determines whether the bullet will pass is trajectory, distance, and what part of the body it hits. That's it. Mm-hmm. Those three things. And this is coming from a pretty far. By the time it gets to Charlie, it's not moving nearly as fast as it was coming straight out of the barrel. And so it's not moving as fast as you might like, if you're like trying to assume it's going to go through the body. And number two, we don't know what it hits. And if it hits the spine, if it hits something, I can't even tell you, think the round's going to go in straight, and then it hits something and it travels up, down, and it could come in at the high torso and leave at the low torso. And you're thinking, how does that happen? Because it's a trajectory that's really hard to predict. So to me, it's not beyond reason that this would be in the body as they said it was. But here's the point. If you're going to suggest it entered another way, well, then we're going to have an entry wound on the side that they say it entered on. That's as simple as that. This is why I know, this is one of the things I'll always use is the statement of Kash Patel, the FBI director. At some point, he said that he was investigating the potential of a secondary shooter. This is not because the FBI thinks there's a secondary shooter. They're just hearing the same noise that everybody else is claiming. So what they're going to do is knock down every potential far-fetched conspiracy that a defense attorney can raise. They're going to knock all those down. Not because they're the source of the concern, because the public is talking about it and they want to knock it down.
So, man, what does that mean when we hear these kind of conspiracies out there? How should we handle them? We definitely shouldn't propagate them and shouldn't allow them to just keep metastasizing around, because look what happens. Those are resources that are being taken from the seriousness of the case to deal with the what ifs of the case, the shenanigans of the case. Man, this is a great video, man.
I can tell you that there was only one shot because I was right there. I didn't hear a second shot. There were probably 5,000 or 6,000 other people there. If this guy up on the roof did take a shot, that was the shot.
Right. And Frank Turek, as I said before, Frank Turek actually Frank Turek actually was recording. He's the guy you see holding his phone like this at Charlie. So he probably got not only the shot, he saw Charlie fall and all the audio. Probably, I'm sure he wasn't recording after that, but all of the audio that was pertinent. That is crazy work. I would never want to touch my phone again.
What they're claiming is that he didn't take a shot. He's a patsy, a fall guy for their real killer. This is what's so ridiculous. So here's what this is why I said.
What motive is there for that? That's what I
exactly.
don't get, you know?
Well, this is it, right? I think, as I said before, there's only one of two motives. One, you're trying to attribute this killing to a group you don't like, or two, you know this is a great way to get attention online. Those are the motive. That's enough motive right now in this age in which we live to drive a lot of people. So,
also, Jim, if they're saying that it came from Charlie's right back, I was standing in that area, just a little bit more beam of him. So if I was at his 3 o'clock, they're trying to say that shot came from 4 o'clock, and
it would have hit you.
Behind me pretty much was a wall. There weren't many people back there. And if the shot was taken within 10 or 20 feet of me, it would have been a lot louder than it was.
Right. And I think part of it too, Frank, is that this is what we can do. We can spend a lot of time kind of theorizing like that. But here's the great part about it. The autopsy will settle it two ways. One, it's going to provide for us all of the trajectory angles. They're either going to be consistent with Robinson or they're not. If there's another entry wound, it'll show us. But here's the better part. It turns out we recovered a round. That round is either going to have the metallurgy and ballistics that match Robinson, or it's not. It's as simple as that. And so in the end, this is part of the comprehensive case you put together. And this is also why, as we said before, you can really only make these kinds of outrageous kinds of claims. Now, look I always say, is it possible? Anything is possible, but it's not reasonable. And I suspect that no one's getting all excited about this because the investigative team already knows the result of the autopsy, and they know that the ballistics, metallurgy, the entry points, all of this probably are confirming of what they already know about Robinson. But here's why now is the time the conspiracies emerged. They don't have that information publicly yet.
Got it. Well, there's a lot more we're going to talk about right after the break with Cold Case Homicide Detective J. Warner Wallace. What's the truth about the murder of our friend Charlie Kirk? We're going to try and get to it. We won't have all the answers until the investigation is complete, but we can at least point out that some of the speculation is just that, speculation that's going to be corrected by evidence later. Back right after the break.
Shout out to Frank Turek. This is a great interview, man. I'm really glad you all suggested it. Shout out.
Who killed our friend Charlie Kirk? Was it Tyler Robinson from the roof, or was it someone else closer to Charlie and Robinson is just a patsy? Conspiracy theories are everywhere on the internet. And we know, of course, if it's on the internet, it has to be true, ladies and gentlemen, right? Yeah, crazy. Jim, we do know that they have recovered the round. Why is that important? Even if we don't know at this point what they discovered about the round.
Right. Yeah. So it's some of the claims you're seeing online is why have they not released the autopsy or the claim that there was no autopsy at all? Now, we already have from several independent sources, even skeptical sources, that acknowledge that the autopsy was performed. So we know it's been performed. And that's something that Turning Point has even broadcast that there was an autopsy done. There was certainly enough time to do it. And when you do this kind of thing, even you might think, well, how do I prepare? We don't know what the private memorial service was for the family, but we have some pictures. Now you might think, well, if an autopsy was done, could you still have an open casket? Yeah, that's very common.
Well, you saw Jim, Erica released a picture.
Yes,
I was in the room. It was an open casket for the family, but I'm not at liberty to say what else happened. But yeah, You saw him. It was an open casket.
Yes. And you might think, well, how can you do an extensive autopsy, especially on this kind of an injury, and then leave the body in condition that you can have an open casket? Well, I'm not going to get into the details of this, but they have a way of doing it, a way of entering they can do all of it, including doing an examination of the condition of someone's brain, all of this, and then return.
Okay, I'm going to save this. Maybe I'll do this for Halloween. I don't think I've ever told you all this, and maybe I didn't. When I left teaching, I actually worked for a very short time. I couldn't do it. I worked for a very short time at a funeral home that was responsible for taking care of bodies. I can tell you that what he's saying is 100% correct. Wait, let me nod my head correctly. It is 100% correct. They can work miracles. The coroner, they will give you ground beef, and those morticians will turn that thing into something you have no idea. So maybe I'll save that for Halloween, because I do have some stories about that. Yeah, they're pretty interesting. But my point is, the autopsy and the coroner are not the same people that take care of the body to make sure you have an open casket. They can give you an open casket. I mean, they can do it. Now there's some circumstances that they can't, but yeah, they can give you an open casket if you want it. And you might pay for it, but you can get an open casket. Okay, I just want to say that. Maybe I'll do that for Halloween. What's that? In a couple Fridays. Maybe that'll be what I do. Trust me. You heard me say a very short time. I have a story to tell you that literally I walked out. I walked out after that story. After the story I will tell, we'll do another story time with Whitaker. I walked out that day. I will tell you. So, yeah, remind me. I know y'all will remind me, so I'm not going to even say remind me, because I know y'all will. Shout out to them. Let's go.
The body to a position where it could be in an open casket. So there's so much that can be done in the autopsy. It does not preclude, nothing is precluded from the fact they did an autopsy. And that autopsy is important for several things. Number one, what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at what all the wound trajectory stuff. We're going to be able to tell from that. And apparently, according to several now news reports, and even to what TPUSA has released, the round was recovered from his body. So, and it was very close to the actual entry point, which probably means that it hit something hard. And you can kind of see from, there's a couple of reasons why you might see the reaction that Charlie immediately experienced. But one of those might be that it either hit the brainstem, it hit something that would have changed the trajectory of the round, all kinds of things. So from my perspective, there's nothing unusual about what we're going to see. But here's what's great. We are going to recover a round that we can now compare to the rounds we have at the actual rifle. So we've got enough data, both from metallurgy and from ballistics from the rifle, and what kind of condition that leaves the round in when it leaves the barrel. There are some things we can look at, and they'll be pretty close. But here's the most important thing. Even though this might not be 100% a way to confirm every detail of Robinson as the killer, what it will do is dispel all of these alleged theories that involve an entirely different trajectory, because that trajectory will be really clear from the autopsy. So I think a lot of this is us, again, watching people speculate. And what really is making the speculation possible is the missing autopsy. It's not in the public domain. Now you might say, well, why don't they just release it then? Because then because this speculation is not really hurting the investigation going forward, as long as they do what they did with you. They're going to interview everyone and knock all these things down. And then when they go to trial, all of this is going to come out. There will not. I think in the end, there are people who feel like, hey, is this going to end up another one of these unsolved conspiracy theories like JFK, like we're in a different age. We have so much video information that we didn't have 40 years ago. It's going to be very different in this age. I think I'm feeling very comfortable as an investigator that, and I almost feel like we shouldn't even give credence to these conspiracy theories, given that the evidence for this is pretty robust. And you can tell, even from his escape route. I mean, do we really think he had another person involved? This seems like he's exactly what he looks to be. And by the way, remember we talked, one of the things they're saying online, Frank, even if they're talking about, well, why is he hitting the neck the way he was? Is it even possible to hit someone with that level of accuracy? And were you using these hand signals to somehow help him? Okay, stop. So here's what I would say. If you've ever hunted, you know when you've got an animal in your sights that you are focused on your sight and you're focused on your telescopic, whatever you're using on your rifle, and you're waiting for the shot. Charlie had a habit of talking with his microphone and then leaning forward and putting the microphone down and listening He didn't always hold the microphone the entire time somebody else was talking. He would put it down. Then he would lean forward and pick it back up again. And if I'm scoping just on his head, there's going to be times when he's going to be out of frame and back in frame. And that's why I'm going to have to my eye has to stay in the scope, because I'm looking for the shot when he comes back into the scope. As gruesome as that sounds, that's the way anyone hunts. And that's what would have happened here. And I think it's...
Yeah, that's super gruesome. That's super. But, you know, hey, I appreciate him explaining it and being very, and being very, you know, transparent about it, because, yeah, we needed that. Shout out for sure.
Because of his rocking back and forth when he answers questions, that it took a little while for the killer to get the rhythm of that. So when he came back up a third time, he knew he could pull the trigger. Now, how accurate is this kid from that distance? Well, I don't think he's aiming on his neck. He's either aiming at his chest, at the heart, or he's aiming at the brain. Because that's what we do, right? In these failure drills, when we know we want to really stop somebody, those are the shots that actually put people down. Now, if he was aiming for his chest, he's off by a foot. If he's aiming for his head, he's off by 8 to 9 inches. But he happened to be accurate enough to make the hit.
Ironically, the reason Charlie would put the mic down was to prevent him from interrupting somebody.
Yeah.
That's why he did it.
Right.
Because he wanted to hear them and he wanted them to speak freely because he loved them and he wanted to reach them. And yet people on the left call Charlie Kirk a Nazi or a fascist. I mean, how many fascists do you know who say, if you disagree with me, come to the front of the line, I'll give you the mic and I won't interrupt. Tell me your story. Tell me your case. It's
shout out to Frank. I want to just point this out too. That's why I really want people who think that Charlie Kirk was this monster to sit down and watch one of his prove me wrongs on a college campus. I don't know how long, 3-4 hours. Just invest the time. If you think Charlie Kirk was this, failed art student of Germany 2.0, then just watch a full episode, a full sit down, whatever they call tabling event, whatever it was called properly. Sit down and watch a full one of those and tell me, is this the behavior of somebody who didn't care about black people, didn't care about women, who hated trans people or those people in the alphabet mafia? Is this the behavior of somebody that hated them, that wanted to terminate them and exterminate them, all this terminology that people wanted to use? I just watch one. Don't watch the clips. Don't do the clip thing. Just watch a full thing. Just invest. And then when you walk away from that, you might still say, he's a failed art student 2.0. Okay, fine. Then you at least watched one and that's where you are. But if not, at least just watch one so that you can say, I know emphatically he said this at timestamp this, and he said this at this timestamp, and on this timestamp, he said this. At least you'll be able to say that. Not just like I saw TikTok on him. I saw a 3-second video of him saying something about Ketanji Brown, and now he's the worst thing ever. Just watch a full thing. Because good gracious, there's a lot of Charlie Kirk content out there. That's all I wanted to say. Shout out for sure.
Absolutely ridiculous, the lies that have been told about this man.
Well, and that movement that was caused by his desire, I think a couple of things happen. You're right. Number one is it takes away also, when I used to watch him do this, I used to always think, oh, I like that because it almost takes away like this, I'm the celebrity and you're just a guy.
Right.
Because he would put down the microphone and he would become human again. But that movement back and forth is why I think the shot didn't even occur earlier. I think it took a while for him to see to expect, okay, he's going to come back. Okay, he's going to come back. And you're absolutely right. There is no way, there's no need. Look, snipers also do this on SWAT teams. Like snipers will look through that scope and they will keep their eye, they don't look around, they stay in the scope because the scope is what they're aiming at. And the same thing is here. I'm sure he was staying in that scope and he was looking for that pattern. And
Let me say one other thing about that too, Jim. And this, of course, is going to all come out in the autopsy.
Right.
I'm looking down at Charlie, and we're trying to stop the blood coming from his neck. I don't believe there was an exit wound on the other side. Otherwise, that would have been bleeding too. And we weren't trying to stop bleeding on the back of his neck. We were trying to stop it on the front.
Mm-hmm.
So now, could there have been a possible? But I'm looking. I mean, I'm right there. You know, he's a foot away, and sometimes doing CPR. You know, I'm right on him. And
it's gonna be sad.
I do not think there was an exit wound in the back of the neck. Maybe there was, but it would seem like we would have to be stopping blood from that angle too, if that were the case. So,
yeah, and again, this is what's so powerful about the autopsy. That we often think that, you know, they're looking for the collection of the weapon rounds. They're looking to also cause of death. Now you might think, well, what's the cause of death? But they're going to tell you though in the autopsy exactly what artery was severed. There's going to be some explanatory power. It's going to be important to know. You know, just for sake of, now you might think, well, why do we need to know that? Well, if there was no alternative theory, you probably wouldn't need to know some of these details. But when the alternative theories come up and they're saying, oh yeah, he was shot from behind and it affected his brain in a certain, okay, the knowing exactly the mechanism of death will help us to at least dispel the alternative theories. And again, that's where this is all coming from, is a desire to be thorough. Can you imagine? And I have worked with some of the best district attorneys in Los Angeles County. And when we do these big high profile cases where Dateline is in the room with you while you're doing the trial, I just know, whether they say it or not, the pressure on the prosecutorial team it's like strangles you. Can you imagine the pressure on this? The slightest mistake. So that's why every T is going to be crossed. Every I is going to be dotted. And silence is now taken by these online YouTubers as evidence of something nefarious. No, silence is just prudence.
That's a key point, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to that. That is a key point that you need to know. Jim's been on the inside and done these investigations himself. He knows what he's talking about. You don't reveal information before you have to.
No. And I'll tell you something. Every time when I get upset when I watch sometimes a federal administration do an investigation like this, because I know they're bowing to they have press releases, they have press conferences. I'm always like, don't do that. I have no problem having them mad at me, but having no information. Because it turns out no information to the public helps you when you finally get to trial. I get it. Can you have no information? It's just going to create all of this conspiratorial thinking. Okay. I understand all that. But from an investigative perspective, everyone being dumb and not knowing what's going on is going to help us. It's going to help us pick a jury, because there's nothing out there that really could taint the jury. It's going to help us once we actually get in front of the jury to roll out the evidence. The other thing I don't want is a jury to think that it knows half the information you get in the public is false. They think if we start giving out information, they think we have more than we really do. So I want them to see what we have and not have some false expectation because they heard it on a YouTube channel. Oh, there's going to be this infrared kind of, technology that was used. Okay, that technology doesn't even exist. Okay, so what we want the jury is to have a reasonable expectation as we build our case. I just think in the end, you're far better off saying less than you are saying more to the press, and that's why you're seeing silence right now about this. Now, I almost think you could take odds. Will at some point the claims of conspiracies be so loud that the investigative team is going to want to release something small to knock them down? Maybe. I still wouldn't do it. I think you just have to ignore that stuff and then knock it down when you get to trial. That's always the better way to go.
Well,
because I think even the text messages, was because of comments that Tyler wasn't the one. And I think that's why they released the text messages. And I think now that's why we're having a discussion about car versus vehicle, right? And what's proper text message etiquette for the 20-year-olds being interpreted by 50-year-olds. That's just crazy work, man. It's sad because, this is, the man's life is not, he's not going to get justice, potentially not get justice because somebody uses car instead of vehicle, which is crazy work.
One thing Erica did want everyone to know, because look, she talked to the surgeon directly, that Charlie died instantly. And the details of that will come out in the investigation. It is true we got a heartbeat when we got to the operating room, when we got to the hospital, but that was just because Charlie was a healthy guy. His vertebrae, well, I'll let the report come out. We'll see. It'll all come out, ladies and gentlemen. These conspiracy theories are just that. They don't have evidence behind them. They have a lot of speculation. Evidence will lead us to the truth, and it's being gathered right now. We're just going to have to be patient. We have another segment with Cold Case Homicide Detective J. Warner Wallace, coldcasechristianity.com, coldcasechristianity.com. Back right after the break. Conspiracy theories surrounding the murder of Charlie Kirk. That's what we're talking about today. We have an expert, J. Warner Wallace, cold case homicide detective, has investigated many homicides, knows how the investigations go. And so we're talking about the different theories that are out there. There was a second shooter from another angle, all this, or Robinson didn't really pull the trigger. And Jim, there's been some skepticism that Robinson is the killer because apparently the nature of what he said on Discord to his boyfriend wasn't convincing to people, or what's the issue there? What's going on there?
Yeah, some of the statements that were made, even to friends, other people, especially to his live-in mate, was like, okay, so does it sound like a normal conversation? It sounds kind of stiff, almost as though he's trying to say it in a very formal way that will get the boyfriend off. In other words, make sure that he'll never be prosecuted for this. Well, okay. The only way you can examine that forensically, and I've used a lot of forensic statement analysis in criminal trials where I'm showing a jury that this statement the suspect made is odd, and it's a tell that he's being disingenuous. Okay. I'd have to have, and I usually will show then, okay, so let me show you when typically discussing this, these other 15 times, look at how he behaves. Look at how he behaves. Now look on the 16th how he responds differently. In other words, in order to say that this conversation between him and any of his friends is forced, I'd have to have a huge sample size. And I don't think we have that. So when somebody online gets a YouTube channel and says, oh yeah, he couldn't have been, he's clearly staging this to make it possible for his friends to be, off the hook. Well, we don't have enough sample size. And there may be enough sample size. It may also be one of those things that the investigators are not releasing. But I certainly don't see enough sample size. And here's what I mean. You'd have to say, well, every time he talks about the shooting, he says it this way. Well, how many times do we have recorded him talking about the shooting? Not only that, whatever he's talking about, I'd have to have it in a certain context. Did he change the way he talks to him as opposed to others? Do you see why you need a huge sample size?
Yes.
One last thing about that. Forensic statement analysis is not a science. It's an art. And there are times when I have said, okay, this is important right here, but I'm not quite sure why it's important. I just know that there's something going on here. Now, I can infer it one way and the defense might infer it a different way. But I think we have to be really careful about the extent to which language alone can tell us much. And I don't think we have a big enough sample size. And anyone who's online saying, hey, this is the reason why we know he's not alone, I don't think you can make that kind of claim until I have a larger sample size to see how people are communicating.
I want to jump in real quick again. Something else I noticed that I haven't heard about this case, which just seems peculiar to me, that and it goes to why I believe what this young man is saying in the light blue pullover is that you notice that they've not mentioned at all cell phone data. If you remember during the YSL trial, cell phone data became big business, and the such of that nature. Where was this phone? We can assume because this is Jason's phone. And his phone is traipsing down to the city of Atlanta to go to the airport, that Jason is going to the city of Atlanta to pick up his daughter. He said he's going to be doing that shortly. But I do think it's interesting. They haven't mentioned cell phone data and cell phone pings and towers and all that kind of stuff like that. They haven't mentioned that yet. And I'm wondering if not wondering. I do believe that that's part of that information. We ain't giving you everything. Because I'm sure they probably have scrubbed this man's phone. They've gotten every little piece, every text message, everything from that phone and the data. Where was his phone located? 'Cause I bet you he probably had his phone with him, because most of us can't go without our phones. So he probably carried it with him, or it was somewhere nearby. And, you can knock down that argument about him never having been on the campus. Well, the phone was on the campus 8 times before. So what do we got? We can assume it's him, because we got a text message to his boyfriend on this time. So this is going to be really interesting. And I know somebody asked, when is the trial? I'm going to just tell you right now, do not expect it until late 2026. Easily. This is going to be too much. The jury pool is going to be a disaster. So the jury pool is going to probably be a mess. So, and they haven't even finished up their investigation. I don't think it's going to be anywhere till probably this time next year, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm not a legal expert. They might roll the thing out January 1, but I could see this thing taking a long time. Okay, let's go. Finish this up, Jason. This is a great interview, by the way, cross-examined with Frank Turek and this young man who is a criminal investigator, and great insight. Let's go.
And Jim,
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I think you've said this before. Every case you've ever worked has had loose ends or details you couldn't explain. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. So this is something we should talk about right now, because Charlie wasn't just a guy. He was a guy who was a Christ follower. And he had a lot of exposure to you. And we've all talked, you and I have talked, I'm sure you talked with him as well, about the nature of eyewitness testimony. So much online right now, skepticism about who's the killer is because you might have one person who saw the entire thing that reported it this way. Another person who was there also who saw the whole thing reports it a slightly different way. And then suddenly the YouTuber is skeptical. Oh, this is either a lie. Something's not, listen. I've had multiple eyewitnesses on many of my cases. They never agree entirely. And sometimes it drives you crazy, because the defense attorney is going to go after this. They're going to say, see this difference? You can't trust this guy. He says it's slightly different. No. Everyone comes in with their own set of priorities, their own things they love. They love guns, or they love a certain kind of clothing. They can tell you more about those things that they're interested in. And they sometimes won't even pay attention to things they're not interested in. And the accounts have to be puzzled together. Charlie knew the Gospels were exactly like this. He knew because you talked to him about it. You and I have been talking about this forever. Eyewitnesses don't agree, and the investigator's job is to put those two together so they lock in and you have the fullest, most robust picture of what happened. And Charlie knew that was true of the Gospel authors, that each one sometimes describes the exact same event, yet the difference is tangible. You're like going, how can they say it so differently? That's what eyewitnesses always do. When I first opened the Bible at the age of 35, what intrigued me were the differences. So when I'm reading through these Gospels, I'm going, wow, this has got a flavor, a texture of disagreement, or at least of kind of like you have to stitch these things together to make sense of it, that is very common in true eyewitness accounts. And so this is why when Charlie would talk about trusting Christ as Savior, he wasn't talking about, just pick anything about God is close enough. No, he actually knew that we could trust what the Gospels were saying about Jesus, that he lived, worked miracles, taught, a crazy upside down backwards ethic that most of us, it shaped all of Western civilization. And then he rose from the grave to demonstrate where his authority came from. This is what I think we have to kind of focus on going forward, right? That the very confidence that we have that there is a truth about anything starts with confidence in the truth about the resurrection. And when you have that kind of confidence, it changes things. And you're seeing that people now are looking to say, well, wow, what gave him that kind of confidence? What gave him that kind of boldness? Could it be that it wasn't just a passion for politics? Could it be that it was a passion for a Savior that he knew, not based on his own feelings or his own experiences, but he just knew. Now, here's what will happen. If you'll start reading the scriptures and look at the gospel accounts to see what they say about Jesus, you will get to believe that Jesus rose from the grave. But if you'll read the New Testament to see what it says about you, you'll suddenly embrace the values that Charlie embraced. When you know that you're a sinner in need of a Savior, when you recognize that in your best day, you're not even close to a holy God, When you recognize you might have good days, but you've never had a morally perfect day, and I'm sure Charlie would admit that for himself as well, then you know that Savior you've already identified on the pages of the Gospels because you tested them as eyewitness accounts is also the Savior that can solve your problem and start a life that changes everything. You see now, thousands of people are willing to consider what was it that formed the confidence for this man.
You know, Jim, in the last walk Charlie and I had 2 days before he died, a Monday night, we're walking through the streets of Phoenix with a bodyguard, and we're just talking about what are the questions. He's like, what are the questions am I going to get at this college? And the two major issues that came up that he wanted to get better at defending, whereas the evidence for the resurrection, how can I persuade people? Because I know it happened. How can I persuade people it's true? And then how can I convince young people about the beauty of the family to get married? And I know that's big between you and Susie. I mean, you guys are doing marriage. You're putting marriages back together through Samaritan's Purse and the Billy Graham organization. You're doing that work right now. Those were two things on his heart. And this coming week.
Real quick. I want to back this up, and I want to point out something. And I've gotten a lot of pushback because I tell people I'm not really that concerned about Israel like people are. Like people like literally it's like a punctuation mark to them. That's all they talk about. I'm not even remotely interested in it. It's interesting. Listen to Frank Turek talk about what he and Charlie talked about the 2 days before he passed away. He's not talking about Israel. That's not his main concern. And the things that he's really concerned about, those are things that we should be concerned about, even if you care about Israel. And I'm not saying you don't care about it. Don't hear what I didn't say. What I am saying, however, is that what Charlie died being concerned about is stuff that we should live being concerned about. Why are we not concerned about the family and seeing families grow and seeing your neighbors have a prosperous marriage and your neighbor next door having a fruitful marriage and you yourself having a fruitful marriage or growing a fruitful family? Why would we not? Why am I worried about other things? And the idea and the notion that that's all he was concerned about is something that's going on 9 time zones away. That's some silly, nasty work, y'all. Here, check it out.
2 days before he died, a Monday night, we're walking through the streets of Phoenix with a bodyguard, and we're just talking about what are the questions. He's like, what are the questions am I going to get at this college? And the two major issues that came up that he wanted to get better at defending, whereas the evidence for the resurrection, how can I persuade people? Because I know it happened. How can I persuade people it's true? And then how can I convince young people about the beauty of the family to get married? And I know that's big between you and Susie. I mean, you guys are doing marriage. You're putting marriages back together through Samaritan's Purse and the Billy Graham organization. You're doing that work right now. Those were two things on his heart. And this coming week, the next podcast, we're going to have Mikey McCoy, Charlie's chief of staff, and his father, Rob McCoy. And Mikey just texted me. He said, you know that Charlie died at the peak of his faith. He died at the peak. And that's powerful. And
you know what I actually think, Frank? Can you tell me?
Let me, and I just want to, I'm going to put my thumb in the eye of the candies. So I know the candies are at the front of the church. So y'all come on up here. Listen to that. Charlie was concerned about how to share the gospel and make clear that one should trust and put their faith in Christ. And how can I tell men and women to get married and raise little people and grow a good, robust family? So the idea and the notion that he's over here having a crisis of faith to go pray to an idol or bang his head on the floor 5 times a day is silliness. It's complete and utter craziness. But even more than that, you got to start asking yourself, why do you even want to believe that? Why do you want to believe that? I know somebody's going to get upset, so email me, dearwokec@gmail.com. But why do you even want to believe that craziness? Shout out to Frank Turek. Let's go.
If I'm wrong. You know why he died at the peak of his faith? Because his faith was still ascending. And the tragedy is that we just saw the peak where it was. I often wonder, like, where would it have been? Where would it? He was on an ascent.
Yeah,
it would have been even. That's the tragedy of all of this, right?
Right. But God can bring good from it. He can ripple forward good. I think he's bringing forth a tsunami of good, as I said at the memorial service. It doesn't take our pain away right now, but it does help us realize that we're here for eternity, that eternity is on our hearts, as Paul says in 2 Corinthians 4. We have to keep our eyes on eternity. It could be, I don't know if this is true, Jim, or not, it could be that Charlie's impact might be greater given what has happened than if he had lived. It could be. I don't know, but I'm getting emails from Sweden, from Denmark, from London, from Australia. People are saying they're Christians because of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. Well, and this is why Charlie knew the connection between the resurrection and his interest in marriage. So if you're thinking, well, hey, I'd love to have a marriage like that. Well, that it's tied to the vision, the connection that Christ loves the church as the bride. That connection transfers over into Charlie's life and his own marriage. These are not disconnected. Christianity is not just true. It is beautiful. This combination of being true and beautiful can change everyone's life. But by the way, nothing really could be beautiful, though, if it's not true to begin with. These are connected. Right. It's beautiful because it's true. But it happens to be beautiful, and you can see it in how it affects people's lives, how it affects their marriages. And we saw that with Charlie.
By the way, friends, Jim wrote an absolutely astonishing book called Person of Interest. If there's just one book you want to get about Jesus, it would be that one. You'll be shocked to learn the impact, how this itinerant preacher from a remote part of the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago has had on the world. It's really hard to explain if Jesus did not rise from the dead. So Person of Interest is a book you definitely want to get if you don't have it. And then if you want more of the evidence of the manuscripts and that sort of evidence, you want to get Cold Case Christianity, the new edition, which came out, the updated edition came out a few years ago. Yeah. Tell them about your website, Jim, and where else. Well, look, I mean,
it's like all of us, we all want to make a case for the God that we love, and so we do that at coldcasechristianity.com. But like before you go to any of that, just Scripture. It's all in the Scripture.
Yep, it is.
Bible sales are through the roof. If you're listening to us right now and you've never read, go get a Bible and read the Gospel of John. Once you fall in love with Jesus, everything else is downstream. Every other view you've held about anything is downstream of whether or not Jesus is who he said he was.
That's right.
Start with the Gospel of John. You will be changed.
By the way, we don't have time to get into this, but if you get coldcasechristianity.com or you get the book, Jim, you talk about how hard it is to really pull off a conspiracy, right?
Yeah. And we didn't even go into that, but you're absolutely right. Because the claim was always that these disciples were conspiring, but we know how difficult that is. And that's one of the reasons why when I hear someone online talk about Charlie, I know it can't be as easy as they say it is.
That's right. Jim, thank you for this work, brother. You've helped a lot of people. The great J. Warner Wallace, ladies and gentlemen, coldcasechristianity.com. I'm telling you, get those two books at least. Cold Case Christianity, get Person of Interest. They are blessings. And read the Bible. Start with the Gospel of John. When you see who Jesus is, you can't not know he's the Savior. All right, Lord willing, we'll see you with Mikey and Rob McCoy next time. God bless.
Okay.
If you're looking for solid answers to life's...
Okay, y'all gonna have to keep me... All right, y'all gonna have to remind me. Don't let me forget. Please don't let me forget when Mikey and Rob McCoy come on. We got to bring them on. We got to check that out. Man, shout out to whoever told me about this one. I'm very thankful that y'all told me. I mean, you keep giving me good content. Y'all appreciate y'all. That was an excellent, excellent video. Shout out to Frank Turek and Mr. J. Wallace. That was good. Thank you all so much. Hey, by the way, if you have forgotten, I have kept up I've started a Google Drive where I'm keeping track of all of the lawsuits related to this case as well as all of Candace's lawsuits. So I'm going to drop the link down in the chat as well. I sound tired? Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of mellow. I apologize. I'm going to drop this link in the chat. So it's called the Daily Candace, and every time something new is updated on the McCrone case or anything happens or changes with this Tyler Robinson case or anything else, when she starts getting sued by everybody and their cousin, I'm going to start putting those documents, the legal documents, in this folder. So if you want to keep up with it, matter of fact, how I know that the judge is going to respond by October 30th is on here. If you look on the file, there's McCrone Owen Cites, and inside of there is the document, the docket, please forgive me, for the Delaware Circuit Court that the McCrone's filed in, and they give you a timeline. So they give you every time something's updated, they keep it updated on that docket. So if you keep that docket, you will be able to see what's going on and all that kind of good jazz like that. I hope that will help you out as well. I saw a lot of questions about the McCrone case pop through the chat and the such like that. So then that way, also when things happen on this case, the Tyler Robinson case, as soon as I get those documents, I will load them in there as well, download them so that you have access to them so you can keep up with it as well. And that is that. Thank y'all so much. The Daily Candace. Come on. I mean, we need that. What's going on? Shout out to you. Thank you so much, Tiki Vicky. I appreciate it. Oh, no, I feel great. I'm actually trying to, y'all know, I don't know if y'all know this. Generally speaking, your boy goes to bed pretty early. I've lately kind of tried to transition out of that, and I stay up a little bit later working on projects and stuff like that. And I have trying to like conserve energy because I'm about to drive an hour down into the city of Atlanta to go pick up my president firstborn. So I think I'm just conserving energy. Let's see what we got here for sure. Oh, no, I apologize. Oh, and by the way, somebody said that Josh Hammer is going to be on the Joe Rogan show. Please make sure y'all email that to me. Y'all, thank you to everybody who's been emailing me already. Shout out to y'all. Y'all are amazing. I do appreciate it. By the way, let me double check real quick, make sure I ain't got anything else. But thank y'all so much for that. I'll come back tomorrow and talk about it. We can talk about Josh Hammer. I kind of like Josh. I like him. I'm starting to learn a little bit more about Josh. I'm starting to dig him. Oh my gosh. Somebody's already sent this to me. What is this? Okay. Somebody said that Tucker Carlson, I don't really want to get down with Tucker Carlson. I'm sorry. I ain't gonna lie, but I will listen to it, and then maybe I'll come back and maybe I'll change my mind. I don't like Tucker. I don't like his persona doesn't work with me. I just don't like it. Anyway, what we got up in this building? Thank you so much. I see it. I'm going to listen to it, but I'm going to try to be gracious. But wait, there's also a Twitter comment. Yeah, I don't know if just the title, Who Killed Charlie Kirk? I don't know if I'm down with Tucker like that, but I'm going to leave Tucker alone for right now. Oh, let me ask y'all a question. What y'all think about this camera over here? Do y'all like, let me see how it looks. How does it look? It's been looking weird. Doesn't it look dry and ashy? Why does it look so ashy? I don't like the way this is looking. I don't know why it's looking like that. It's not a fingerprint, so don't tell me that. I don't know why it looks like that. And it also has a lens that's supposed to keep the reflection off. It's not doing a good job either. I'm going to get rid of that thing. This camera is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It is not fantastic. Now, this one is fantastic. Yo, I'm just trying to figure this out. Yo, so I don't know what happened, Brett. Thank you so much. So apparently Candace has been banned from Australia because of hate speech. And I'm like, why is she wasting all of this energy to get back to be allowed to go into Australia? And she's not doing anything in the United States. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's that stuff I'm talking about, where you are literally worrying about something that's 9, 10, 11, 12 time zones away, but you ain't doing nothing in Texas. You ain't doing nothing in Tennessee. Kentucky could use you. Why don't you go do some speaking tours in Kentucky? Why don't you go wander around Tennessee? Why is she worried about going to Australia and speaking? She ain't speaking right here. That's crazy work. That is the craziest work I can imagine. She's going to fight them, and I hope they keep her out. Oh, you know what? We got time. I did want to see the Lauren the Mortician. Hold on one second. I did want to see that one because I was listening to it in my ear and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like it. I like Lauren. I ain't gonna even lie. I like her. She's definitely growing on me. Okay. Okay, I am going to do Lauren the Mortician. Shout out to Lauren. Here, let me make sure I drop the link so somebody don't say I'm using her content and not giving her attribution. Here, I dropped the link in here, and I'm gonna go ahead and let me do this one real quick because I can hear my wife and them getting ready, starting to move and stir because they want to get ready to go pick up my daughter, big girl. All right, let's see. All right, so I've given her attribution. Let me give her a like real quick too. I wasn't subscribed. Oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? All right, green hearts in the chat when y'all can hear it, good people. Let's see what Lauren has to say.
Candace Owens is wrong. And I don't say that lightly because normally I actually respect a lot of the work she does. She asks hard questions, she digs into things, and I can appreciate that. I do the same thing in my world every day. But in this case, there are some serious inaccuracies in what she's saying about Charlie Kirk's death. The way
I really think they photoshopped that smile. That smile is crazy. How did they stop that like that? You know, I'm the king of stop and freeze frame. That smile is worth it. That smile is worth the price of admission right there. All right, make sure y'all hit that like button, please. And tell me what like you are. Go ahead and drop the like in the chat. Tell me what like you are. What number were you? Let's go.
She framed this video makes it sound like these are established facts. Like this is the law and this is what happened, except it's not. There are some things here that need to be corrected legally, medically, and ethically. So let's talk about it. Let's walk through this clip by clip because when it comes to death investigation, there are actual protocols, and I live them every day. Let's start with the first claim.
Charlie Kirk was shot from the front, and the bullet did not exit, and at least a fragment of the bullet was recovered from his neck. And I'm going to tell you exactly where.
If anyone online really knows where a bullet fragment was found, that information did not come from the Utah Medical Examiner's Office. They're legally barred from releasing those kinds of details while an open investigation is going on. So if information like that is floating around, it probably came from hospital chatter. And that's where HIPAA comes in. Even when someone dies, their medical privacy doesn't just vanish. Sharing diagnostic or trauma details without authorization is a serious violation. It happens sometimes. A staff member tells a friend, a nurse repeats what they heard, but it's not supposed to. Hospital gossip spreads faster than embalming fluid, and that's why investigators clamp down hard on confidentiality. So either somebody is speculating or somebody is talking out of turn. But one thing I can promise you, no state pathologist is phoning a political commentator to give them a blow-by-blow of wound trajectories. That's not how any of this works.
And I'm going to tell you exactly where it was recovered from. I have fact-checked this information from multiple sources now. I've actually been sitting on this for a little bit over a week. Right around here. So think about almost in line with your shoulder blade, right in the center. Now, why is that helpful? Because it gives us a bullet trajectory, okay? Went in here where you saw that.
That's not trajectory, that's interpretive dance. That was some dancing. In a real autopsy, trajectory isn't guessed from the outside of the body. It's documented step by step inside.
Everybody, I need you to put a dance emoji in the chat. Everybody has to put a dance emoji in the chat. That has got to be the funniest thing I've heard all day. I got to go find a dance emoji, fill it up full of dance emojis. I don't care. I need a dance. She said that is not trajectory. That is interpretive dance. That is so out of pocket. That was so good. That blessed my soul. That just blessed me. She's okay. I gotta listen to it again. Y'all are flooding it with the dance emojis. There we go. Let's get the bailar going. The bailar. Okay, I gotta back that up. I love Lauren, y'all. I can't say that real loud because my wife's in the kitchen.
Right in the center. Now, why is that helpful? Because it gives us a bullet trajectory, okay? You went in here where you saw that.
That's not trajectory. That's interpretive dance. That was some dancing. In a real autopsy, trajectory isn't guessed from the outside of the body. It's documented step by step inside of the exam room. Here's what that looks like. First, the medical examiner photographs the body exactly as received. Every angle, every wound, ruler in frame for scale. Then they document clothing and residue because things like soot, stippling, or tearing can tell you whether the shot was close range or distant. After that, they clean the body and they start a full external examination, checking for exit wounds, tattoos, abrasions, all of it. Every measurement goes into the report in millimeters, not hand gestures. When it's time to determine trajectory, they open the body and trace the wound path internally. Sometimes they'll insert a metal rod or even thread through the channel to show its direction from entry to where it stopped. They might use fluoroscopy or CT imaging to confirm exactly where a bullet or a fragment rests. Only after they've done that do they describe the angle, like front to back, slightly downward, right to left. It's math and anatomy, not guesswork. And all of that goes into a confidential report that's dozens of pages long and reviewed by investigators. You don't get that information from pointing to your own neck on a podcast. So unless she's the one holding the scalpel and signing the report, what she's doing isn't trajectory analysis, it's storytelling. It's podcasting.
They did not recover a bullet from a .30-06. They didn't recover a bullet from a .30-06. Just didn't happen, okay? They found a .30-06 bullet. Charlie's death certificate certainly would have reflected that. Medical examiners, feel free to chime in. I've spoken to quite a few. But when the gun and the bullet are known, they are reflected onto the death certificate, okay? There is not one reflected onto Charlie Kirk's death certificate.
This is one of the easiest ones to clear up because she's confusing two completely different documents. The autopsy report and the death certificate are not the same thing, not even close. They're handled by different offices on different timelines for completely different reasons. Here's how it actually works. When someone dies under suspicious or violent circumstances, gunshot, accident, overdose, anything like that, the body goes to the medical examiner or the coroner. That office performs the autopsy and eventually produces a full forensic report. That report can be 30, 40, sometimes over 100 pages long. It documents every incision, every internal injury, every organ weight, toxicology findings, histology signs, photographs, everything. It's a scientific and legal record, not something that gets uploaded to public databases. Inside that report is where you'd find references to bullet fragments, trajectory, caliber markings, firearm residue, and the examiner's professional interpretation. It's technical, it's detailed, and it's protected by law. Only law enforcement, the prosecutor, and sometimes next of kin, after the investigation closes, can request copies. So that was that one. The death certificate, I file those, on the other hand, is a civil document that gets filed through the Department of Health or Vital Records. It's meant for statistics, insurance, and estate purposes. It contains 4 essential things: the decedent's identifying information, the cause of death, for example, gunshot wound to the head, wound to the neck, the manner of death, homicide, accidental, natural, undetermined, and the certifying physician or medical examiner's signature. That's it. There's no place on a death certificate for bullet type or caliber. You're not going to see .30-06 Springfield rifle limited edition printed on line 27. It's not CSI, it's bureaucracy. Here's what's really going on. The death certificate hasn't even been finalized or filed at all. In Utah, and honestly in most states, that document waits on the autopsy findings, the lab work, and the toxicology results. Until those are complete, the medical examiner files a pending certificate. Nothing is official yet. So when people start saying it couldn't have been a 30-06 because that's not listed on the death certificate, they're mixing up the timeline. The certificate can't reflect information that doesn't exist yet. It isn't magic, it's paperwork. And for anyone implying that somehow they've already seen the examiner's report, let's be clear. Those reports are sealed until the investigation closes. Only the investigating agency and the examiner's office have them. Everyone else is speculating. Unless you were in that morgue documenting the evidence, you haven't seen the report. You haven't seen anything.
That particular weapon that they were trying to tell us Charlie was killed with would have gone through about 7 necks.
7 necks? I handle necks every day. That's not how anatomy or physics works. Bullets slow down in tissue. They don't magically keep cruising through body after body. Maybe in an action movie, but not in a morgue. That line was for drama, not data. I think that one of her sources is hospital staff or somebody related to somebody that worked at that hospital. Yeah. So I want to talk about hospital staff and common procedure when someone dies there, especially during something like this. When someone is brought into a hospital with a gunshot wound, the trauma team's only goal is to keep the patient alive. If a surgeon happens to remove a projectile or a fragment, it gets handed off to law enforcement or the medical examiner's evidence tech person, assistant, if you will. That's it. Doctors don't sit there inspecting grooves or matching ballistics. They're not in the business of examining bullets. They're in the business of saving lives. Once that fragment leaves the hospital, it becomes evidence. The medical examiner will photograph it, label it, seal it, and send it to the state crime lab for analysis. Their role isn't to play detective. It's to collect and document data. The measurements, the direction, the travel, the type of tissue damage, that evidence then goes into a confidential report and chain of custody logs. So even if a fragment existed, and we have zero confirmation that it does, those details wouldn't be public. Whoever she's talking to wouldn't know that. And they definitely wouldn't be talking to reporters, commentators, not even to most hospital staff. They'd be protected under investigative confidentiality, which means claiming it wasn't a 30-06 bullet is pure speculation. There's no way to know without the lab report, and that's something only the examiner and investigators would ever see. Until those results are released, and that won't happen until the case is closed, any talk about calibers is just filling in the blanks with imagination. We don't have a report. We don't have a chain of custody note. We don't have a public statement. So we don't have facts. Everything else is just noise. I really do respect her curiosity and the work that she puts into asking questions. That part really matters to me and the general public. And we have not had a whole bunch of transparency from the medical examiner's office or anything really for the investigation into the death of Charlie Kirk. I don't know who her medical examiner friends are that she's been talking to, but I think she needs better ones, because the fact that they didn't clarify to her what a death report investigation, that's separate from the death certificate, it kind of told me all I needed to know. But when it comes to death investigations, the facts have to come first. There's a whole process, there's privacy for the family, and there's a reason that these reports take time. I'm Lauren the Mortician. I deal in facts, not fantasy or feelings. Thank you for watching, Coffin Crew. Don't hate me, Candace. This was constructive feedback. If you need a death diva to help you a little bit better, you know where I live, probably. Okay, don't come for me. Bye.
Death diva? That's some crazy work right there. I like how she, Candace likes to point out when people say, hey, don't come at me, Israel. Well, people are now telling us, hey, don't come at me, Candace, because they know how she get down. That was good. Shout out to Lauren the Mortician. Thank y'all so much. I don't remember who emailed me. Let me see who it was. I don't like putting people's names out there, but whoever emailed me, thank you very much for that. I like Lauren. Lauren is cool. Shout out to her. Yeah, I appreciate that one for sure. All right, I am going to get ready to go pick up my dear firstborn coming back from college. See how she's doing. See my girl. But I want to say thank y'all so much for rocking with me. I need to also say thank you so much for the supers. Thank you so much to Rena for the $4.99 $5 super sticker. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the love. Thank you so much. Hold on one second. Hold on 1 second. Grandma was asking a question. And shout out to Cindy Lou, who she says this: Candy didn't even like or respect Charlie because he was a Protestant. I think she's saying she knows he's a Protestant, and his love for Jewish people, in my humble opinion. You know what? I don't look, if this is what love, if Candace Spiracy's behavior is the love of a friend, Charlie Kirk was in trouble. He was in cash money trouble. If this is how friends behave, we need to reevaluate the whole term friend completely and totally, because it just don't make any sense. But I do want to say thank y'all so much. I did drop the link for the Daily Candace. That's where I'm going to be keeping up with all the court filings. Every time they're updated is going to be in our little link called the Daily Candace. And I'll drop that in here one more time if the moderators want to grab a copy of it, a copy of the link. As far as I know, the link will stay the same. It'll never change. So you always can keep up with that. If you are a member of the channel, I've been asked to host a podcast for StreamYard, which is the platform that I stream this live stream in. And it's just a regular update where I'm interviewing and having a conversation with content creators about their platforms. What do they do on their channels? How are they growing their channels? And hopefully how StreamYard is a benefit to them. So if you're interested, that's going to be, I'm making it available to the members right now to check it out. And then it's going to be available for everybody next week. And I haven't figured out exactly when I'm going to drop it and when I'm going to be recording it. Once StreamYard gives me the green light and gives me all the resources, I'll keep you all posted on that. So thank you so much for that as well. I believe tomorrow we're going to do a special live stream. And I came up with this crazy idea. I saw a content creator do it. And it's really going to be focusing on you all, the audience. So, and the stuff that y'all watch when you're not watching over here on J-Web Podcast. I can't give you out too many details, but I'm going to tell you, it's going to be fun. I think y'all will enjoy it tomorrow. So as soon as I know for a fact, I got to make sure I'm not picking somebody up from a homecoming dance. Once I know for a fact, I'll make sure that you all know. And it'll be fun. I think we'll have a good time tomorrow night. But thank y'all so much for rocking with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much to everybody who's jumped into the best live chat on the internet. You know what? I do have something we're going to end with. And I told y'all the other day that one of my subscribers made me a video about the best live chat on the internet. And of course, this is back when my channel was called Dear Woke Christian. And we had a theme song, man. Not every live chat has its own theme song, right? But we have our own. So let me real quick bring this up. Hold on, Jason. No, don't. Okay. Whew. All right, bro. Did you close it out again? Hold on. Where is it? I had it saved on my desktop. Yeah, my desktop is bonkers. If you can see my desktop, it is a crime. It is a crime scene. Hold on 1 second. Let me do this. It's right there. Okay, cool. All right. Let me pull it in. All right. So we actually have a theme song. So I think it would be fun to bring that in. And we'll end on that. I think this will be a fun ending to tonight. Thank y'all so much for rocking with us. And let's see. Holy cow. Here it is real quick. All right. So this is back when the channel was called Dear Woke Christian, but hey, it still applies. This is still the best live chat on the internet. Let's bring it in. My wife is literally saying, am I ready to go yet? Where must be name. All right. So before we get out of here, thank y'all so much for rocking with us. I really appreciate you. I'm going to say grace and peace right now. And I'm going to end on the best live chat on the internet. And hopefully, hey, maybe I can get it redone with the new channel name instead of when it was Dear Woke Christian. Anyway, check it out. Let me know what you think down below. Until next time, everybody, grace and peace.
Asian highlights. And people say hi when I come into the room. I wanna be where the conversation is interesting. And I wanna have family there, like president, firstborn and chief executive, second born and a Grammy. She's cool. Yeah, I want a Grammy party for sure. I want to feel some kind of way, you know, like where everybody knows my street name. And if I could ever find something like that, it would be the best. Chat room on the internet, a chat room that you know has stuff to talk about, stuff I know how to talk about, where people get me and I get celebrate. You know where you celebrate. I like it when the moms are on their job and put those links in the chat. Yeah, that's nice. You think this place exists, man? I know a guy. You think this place exists, man? I know a dear Christian. Look at my band, he'll hook you up. Man, if I could ever find something like that, it would be the best. Chat room on the internet, a chat room that you know has stuff to talk about, stuff I know how to talk about, where people get me and I get celebrate. You know where you celebrate. Thank you, oh thank you, dear old Christian, for giving me a place at the best chat on the internet. I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Whitt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.